Gary Kasparov famously went up against IBM's Big Blue. Gary Kasparov, chess grandmaster, went up against the IBM machine and was beaten. It was kind of, the headlines were about, human defeated at chess, humans are on their way out, all the rest of it, without really sort of understanding, kind of how Big Blue had done it, very much through brute force. Kasparov kind of licked his wounds and kind of came back fighting, and in fact sort of flipped it on its head and said, actually, what we'll create a new form of chess, where we have teams of humans and machines playing against each other. So it has various names, but the one that sort of I guess I seized upon, but just with the romance of it, I suppose, was centaur chess, alluding to kind of the mythological creature which was half horse and half man. So this idea of kind of centaur teams where there are human intelligences and machine intelligences working together against another team of human intelligences and machine intelligences, and the outcome was about kind of the best synthesis of all of those things. The brute force of the machine intelligences, the speed at which they can consider all of the options and play out all of the possible outcomes, and sort of the humans choosing and surprising and almost like using more of the social intelligence to kind of, more of the psychology, if you like, against their human opponents. And that just sort of seemed like a fascinating pattern or a possibility for the near future, where you would sort of have the best of both worlds and sort of very much focus the machine intelligence on the things that machines are great at, numbers, working at speeds that humans cannot, creating and sort of evaluating billions of possibilities in very short amounts of time. We kind of do the same sort of thing, but in a very instinctive way. We don't quite know how. If you smush those things together, what do you get? If you have a centaur team adopting that pattern from the competitive chess world, addressing other problems or other areas, what would happen? What would that be like? Perhaps we already see it in things like the manifold, the valve, whatever it was that was created by that CAD company or 3D printing company to sort of show off its algorithms. But having that kind of ability to have a companion intelligence that doesn't, and I think this is the important part that comes from, Kasparov's insight or the people who work in this, or play, I should say, in this field, is that you are deliberately employing the machines to not think like you. You want the machines to be doing the things that humans cannot do, whether that's the in the realm of machine perception, what can different cameras see, different spectra, different sensors, whatever it might be, different inputs that humans don't have. We just, there are senses we just don't have. Different types of reasoning and cognition, particularly in terms of speed and power of crunching numbers and coming up with scenarios, creating models, running those models. Different outputs, where we speak and write and draw. What can machines do that humans can't do? So I think sort of deliberately this sort of centaur pattern that I sort of became a little bit obsessed with was about this kind of, well, if there's a team of a human and a machine companion or tool that dreams and has some agency or has some kind of ability to reason from its context and do something based upon that, what should that team be like in what domains and in what sort of settings? What does that lead me to sort of think about kind of how we might design these tools? What does it lead me to think about their interfaces and the way they relate to to humans? What does it lead me to think about kind of what isn't so interesting or isn't so useful? So I just found it, I sort of seized upon it. It just really kind of like entertained and interested me and sort of sent my mind off in a sort of a path that is continuing to go on, which is about kind of really looking at trying to understand the ways in which machine intelligence can be usefully different from human intelligence, but then how do you create that seam between the two to create a team that is more than the sum of the parts. So it's very much a kind of augmentative view of technology rather than a kind of othering or kind of we should, I mean, there is an other, there is a kind of, you're in a way you are kind of like creating this very other thing that if you sort of hew to Haraway's kind of descriptions of her companion species, we can never know truly what they're thinking. We can never really, but we have this empathy between us and we have these shared goals, and somehow there's this kind of gestalt between us that we're both kind of enjoying and pursuing and being a part of. Maybe we'll end up there in 50, 100 years time, but for now I think it's much more of a simple trick to kind of think about what the best complement of machine intelligence to human intelligence would be in any one sort of context.